Waiting for chess goals, it says.
All right, we are live. Excellent connection. What's up, JD?
Not much. I can't see us. Ready to start? Oh no, I have to watch an ad.
Oh no.
I have to watch an ad before I can watch us. I wanted to see myself.
Support chess goals. Don't X that
Yeah.
out.
Oh yeah. Wait, do we actually get less if we exit out?
I don't know. It's our own IP. That might matter.
Oh, yeah, fair enough, I guess. Like you won't even watch ads on your own video.
Yeah. See Birdsell in the chat. I'm expecting truth bombs getting dropped left and right. I will start with the first truth bomb. JD, that beard is looking really smooth, and I'm super jealous.
Yeah, I started going to a barber and actually having it like cut like by someone other than me.
Yeah,
Because I just buzz it all off to one length when I'm too lazy, but I don't know how to make it look decent. So it's actually getting trimmed tomorrow. No, the next day, Tuesday.
you know how I know that's true? When I
How?
create thumbnails in Canva, there's a remove background option, and that
Yeah.
thing just perfectly cuts out the beard. Now, like you can tell it's trimmed because it just knows exactly how to trim it out.
Huh.
First attempt.
That's
Normally
nice.
hair, it's things popping all over the place.
Hmm. I see. So what's your chess world like, Matt?
My chess world.
Yeah. Are you playing? Are you learning? Are you teaching?
I
Are
am
you
playing
watching?
about 0 hours a week. Currently, approximately
Yeah.
between 0 and 0.1.
Uh-huh.
And I'm backing off a little bit on chess work because I was getting slightly burnt out for a bit.
Yeah.
You and I are working on the Caro-Kann tactics course, which has been really fun. I have the London course. It's a little bit on the back burner. Like I've been working on it as I have time.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit of chess.com stuff. So I have an article coming out for chess.com pretty soon. That's the junior article, upcoming juniors. And then just kind of the day-to-day chess goals stuff.
Why is Tears from Bob? What's this about? Because he's not playing?
Well, Bob is sleeping right now, I think.
Oh.
We said we were going live at 7 p.m. US Central Time, and a lot of people started complaining in Discord, oh, it's 3 a.m. here, it's 4 a.m. here. But if you were a diehard fan, I mean, you used to wake up at 4 a.m. on a regular basis to start your daily routine. If you're a
I did.
diehard fan, you got to adjust your REM cycles and get set up.
Yeah, we've been in before though. I don't know if that's such a great idea. I've shifted all the way back to 6 now.
It seems more reasonable long term.
I went I went to 5 for quite a while, and then I was even gonna try to go back to 6:30, but like I just was awake every day anyway. I couldn't sleep any longer.
Six seems really reasonable. Oh, there we go. Tony in the chat. Welcome, Tony. Phoning in from the Eastern time zone. Couldn't have picked a more perfect time. Welcome, Tony. Tony, are you new to Chess Goals, or how did you first hear about us? Okay, JD, what have you been doing with your chess?
Uh, a little bit of chessable. I'm still have 3 hours a week with a coach, and then a lot of bullet.
How
two,
much
two.
chessable per day?
At this point, I would say 15 minutes would be a good day. Not a lot, but some. I have a 286-day streak now.
Dude, that's legit. That's so good. Oh,
Yeah,
Tony.
but I don't really feel that great about like my chess improvement right now at the moment. I don't like I was really seriously motivated there for a minute. I was probably putting in like 20 to 30 hours a week of chess study outside of lessons, and I burned out on that a bit.
You were kind of doing that around the Chicago Open time, weren't you?
It already kind of started to die off a bit before then even, but yeah.
I
Like
think
when I
it's
played yeah, I think I guess yeah, around the Chicago Open I was still doing quite a bit.
think it's healthy though to kind of have those little breaks. Like you work harder at chess than probably anybody that I know who I talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Um, and like you see the results when you play, but it's
Yeah,
also a grind and it takes a lot of consistent work at your level to like sometimes eke out a small number of rating points.
I did hit the, it said a lot of bullet. I did cross the 2200 barrier at bullet, though I fell promptly back under, but
That's legit. 2200 is really good.
yeah. Well, you're 2350 or something, right?
I don't know what my true bullet skill is because I don't play it enough. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm super rusty,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't be surprised if my bullet is much weaker than my blitz.
What's interesting is that I attribute a lot of the bullet growth to more than anything to just having been sleeping generally more and better lately. Like I just feel more alert. I think I'm just faster when I'm like rested and alert. Because like if you play when you're at all groggy, I don't know. I've spent too much time playing bullet, and I've noticed that my how I'm feeling physically through the day really translates into how well I'm performing over the, I guess over the board, but really with the mouse is what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like I was reading this book Pump Up Your Rating. I actually have it right here.
Axel, someone or other.
Axel Smith. One of the things he says to do is train when you're fresh. Like he actually says don't train if you're not feeling fresh.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's like psychological, because some people would say maybe train tired in some cases so that when you have less sleep, you're kind of prepared for it, like running high altitude kind of thing, so that when it's lower altitude, you're ready.
I don't buy it. I like, for me, like you really should like train when you're freshest, because I think it's pretty clear that you're going to absorb and retain less, and you're wasting your time. I think if you're training when you're too tired, like you're better off doing some menial task that you don't need to remember when it's done. You should go wash your dishes or something when you're tired. You shouldn't study chess then.
Makes sense. Or like working out or going for a walk or something. Get some
Yeah,
sunlight.
whatever you don't need to perform well at, whatever you can get by with just not exerting any real effort into. So yeah, if that means going for a walk, sure. I prefer to work out when I was a little more alert, because I'm hoping to get something out of that too.
Yeah, that's true. Get the blood flowing. So
Yeah,
Tony, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were T-Bash at first. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, he says sleeping is an OP buff. I agree.
it really is.
Okay, who else is in the chat? We got 4 viewers. Let us know. Birdcell, Tony, who else is lurking?
Is it me and you?
Maybe. No, it started at 1. That was Birdcell, and then it went to 2. I think that was either you or Tony.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
think.
maybe like one other person because I'm not watching on the main chat. I'm watching in YouTube Studio.
So you don't count. Okay. He's
Birdcell's
ignoring his.
ignoring dinner with his wife. Oh,
No, he's ignoring his wife at dinner time.
oh yeah.
Where he's risking his relationship for us.
Birdcell, you have your priorities straight. Don't worry about it. You said
So
unmature.
did you watch the Rapid and Blitz at all in Zinkfeld?
I have not. So what are the results so far?
I also haven't really watched it, but MVL and Faruja are currently tied for first, and Shanklin's in third. He's having a pretty fantastic event. Caruana has appears to continue to play poorly. He's got a win and he's got 1 win and 3 losses. No, 4 wins and 3 losses.
Well, it's nice to see Faruja bounce back. And Shanklin, I was just recently reading that he was working with Hikaru in the candidates.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like when you work as someone's second, like, you always get that little boost when you start playing again. So that's kinda
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, Fabi, hopefully he turns that around soon. Like, he's such a strong player. When he was playing
Yeah.
Magnus for the championship, like, he was clearly the number 2 player in the world, and you could
Well,
almost
and
argue he was close to Magnus for a little stretch.
I don't think that's too hard to, I mean, to say. I mean, I think he's truly capable of that. I mean, the it's just unfortunate that he's not historically performed that well in rapid and blitz, and because it, I mean, he played a tremendous classical match against Magnus, and then it just kind of died in the rapid when they went to the rapid tie breaks. It was sort of heartbreaking.
Do you feel like he's getting a little bit better though at Rapid and Blitz?
He certainly seems to be playing in more of it. I wonder what his let's look him up and see what his rapid rating is.
Because I think he did pretty well in one of the recent tournaments, like one of the Magnus
Uh,
Cup tournaments.
yeah,
And I think in the last SCC, he also did a bit better. So maybe he's working on those skills because one thing that I thought in that Magnus Caruana match, I felt that Magnus was like coasting almost to the rapid.
yeah,
And when I've done the odds of which player is going to win, you realize like if your let's say your skill gap in rapid is 200 points
yeah.
and your skill gap in classical is like 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
It's way better to play for super high draw odds games as Magnus. Go to a 4-game mini match where you should almost never lose that. Like you should never lose 2.5 to 1.5 or worse against someone
Yeah.
that's 200 points below you.
So he's 2747, and he's the 13th highest rated rapid player.
And that's FIDE Rapid.
Yeah, FIDE rapid. And by blitz, whoa. This, I wonder if this is correct, because this is saying that FIDE blitz that he's 2847 and the third highest rated,
I see that
higher
too.
than higher than Carlson, and Aronian and Nakamura are the tied for first. This feels like something's wrong.
No, he had a good Blitz event. Which tournament was it? He had a really good Blitz event. Oh, looks like it was a while ago though.
Hmm.
Hey Jordan, welcome. Jordan, we're talking about Fabiano and his Blitz rating. Blitz and rapid skills. So he's third in Blitz. It's cool. It's 3 Americans at the top in Blitz. Roni,
Yeah,
Naka, and Caruana.
that's a. Clearly it's not fair to say he's not good at rapid and blitz anymore.
Yeah, I'm looking for his games. I wanna see which tournament he did so well in. Let us know in the chat if you know where did Fabi get all of his Blitz points.
I want to see if I can find a graph and see when he got good. 'Cause I thought at one point he was like not even in the top 100 for either one of them, and now he's pretty high up the list for both.
You're right. I remember at one point I wanna say he was like 59th or something crazy in rapid or Blitz, and he was second in the world.
Surely there's graphs around here somewhere I can see for him. Rating progress charts.
So one thing I'm curious now is what are the rapid abilities of Nepomniachtchi against Dingler N?
Yeah. All right. So at one point, Bobby was 28-29 in classical chess. And at the same time, he was 26-65 in blitz.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's the like kind of 200 point gap.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Like, I mean, that's just dramatically lower.
Our
But it's
statistician in the chat checked his SAS data set. He fired up his SAS dinosaur desktop.
Uh-huh.
8 out of 9 at the super bet day 4 monster. Yeah, that's crazy. So super bet he was 8 out of 9. Wow.
Wow. Oh, look, and he points me back to a news article that I should have already known about.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
from chess.com,
Yeah, something like that. Chest.
cheese.com.
Chest.com is what my mom calls it.
Yeah, chess.com.
That's what she calls it. So many people think that's what I'm saying when I tell them that I work for chess.com.
Yeah.
Like, I have to pantomime playing a board game whenever I say it. Otherwise, they get really confused when
Well,
I say
do you flex when you say it? Like, are you like, chess.com? They
no. I don't even have a chest anyway.
Jordan's saying that's when he took on Magnus for the world championship. Yeah, I think that's right. Tony flexing in the chat. Tony, I think you probably saw in Discord. Did you see the videos of JD and I arm wrestling?
Do those still exist?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like
Can
they're
you send
in
those
one of
to
those
me?
non-chess channels.
Can oh, okay. Yeah, I should go find those.
You want me to pull it up now?
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
So here's the history with arm wrestling. Was that when you did the April Fools? It was after that, but not too long after. We were in the Chicago Open together, and we decided to arm wrestle one night. Presta J was there, and I'm a huge arm wrestling fan. So I got into arm wrestling because I got some random like ESPN video of this arm wrestler arm wrestling Shaq like 2 years ago, Shaquille O'Neal, and he could easily beat Shaq. I'm like, how does that even work? How do you beat a 7 foot, 400
Monster.
pound guy?
Yeah.
He was like 250 pounds, 6'3" or something. So I got super into arm wrestling. I've been to one practice. I've seen a lot of videos. I can tell you all the top arm wrestlers. Like I follow them, like I follow chess. I go, I lift weights a little bit, but I'm like a pretty light guy. I get on the table with JD. His hand is twice the size of mine. And I start to realize why arm wrestlers talk so much about hand size when it comes to arm wrestling. His hand swallows up my hand like I'm a little baby. And I can't do anything. Like, he can just move my hand around any way he wants. He can let me get almost all the way to the pin pad and just hold me there effortlessly. It's amazing. I don't, you would have to, JD, you would have to be like 5% of your power, I think, for an even match. Like, it's not even close. It's not even close. I think you're some kind of like, I know I'm not good, but I think you're some kind of like natural talent. Like, if you really wanted to get good at arm wrestling, I think you could be really good.
Yeah. That's funny because I've never associated myself as having much upper body strength. I think that like relative to my leg strength, I got like you've always heard the thing that like you're supposed to be able to bench your body weight, squat your body weight in half, and deadlift twice your body weight. Like it's only very recently that I ever hit that where I could bench press my body weight. Like most of my life, I haven't been able to do that.
But a lot of arm wrestling is like joints and tendons, frame size, right? So if you got wider shoulders,
I am
longer
pretty wide
levers.
shouldered.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily directly translate to like how much do you bench.
Yeah.
A little bit more arm curl or like lat drag pulling backwards kind of stuff. But you grew up, kind of grew up doing some farm work, right?
Yeah, a lot of farm work. Yeah, I didn't get to grow up for free.
Yeah. So
I had to earn my keep.
that probably built a lot of strength like over the years.
That's the only really weightlifting I've ever done. Like we were talking about squatting the other day, and I said I really think that I have less than 100 lifetime reps of the squat.
So here's another, I'm just going to brag about you, JD. Here's another JD strength story. The first time I ever met JD in person, he came to my house because he was making a tour up through Minnesota, and we got in touch, and he stopped by my house for a little bit. And in my basement, I have a little squat rack with a bench and a barbell and a few plates. JD loads up like all of my plates on the bar. And I'm like, how much do you bench? She's like, I don't really know, but I might be able to do this. Like, didn't even put we didn't put the collars on or anything, right? And I'm just kind of standing watching, like, okay, I'll jump in if he needs help. JD pulls the bar off, brings it down to his chest, immediately just shoves it up, lifting all of the weights in my home gym. But then as he's racking it, because he's not used to benching, the bar tips sideways. All the plates come crashing off one end, and then the other side of the bar tips down. All the plates come crashing off that end. And I'm like, well, you still did all the plates, JD. That's like the most impressive thing I've seen. You just cold, no warm up. I don't lift. You're just like 300 pounds or something crazy on the bench. And then you say you're not strong.
I've never really felt that strong. Like I can barely do pull-ups at all.
I saw a video of you deadlifting. Like, who were you deadlift? Danny Wrench and
It was
someone
Danny
else?
and Eric. It was Danny and Eric.
And they were on a barbell?
Yeah, we were down in Cancun. I think it was Cancun, maybe it's the Dominican Republic. But we always work out together when we're at our meetups, and we'd come back from a run or something, and we found this big barbell, but we couldn't find any weights at all. And so me and Eric, they laid down on the ground and tried to hold on to the bar like this, and then I just was doing deadlifts with the two of them hanging onto the bar. There's no way to know how much weight it actually was because their feet were still on the ground. So and they're both, I mean, you can say they're both 180. So at most 365 if I had 100% of their weight.
Probably 300. I mean, probably 300 at least.
And then the barbell is 45. So
Then you got to also add that's not very stable weight. Normal plates are very predictable in how they move.
true.
People hanging on the bar, that's very awkward weight.
Should
Birdsell
find that.
saying, pro tip, if you bench at home alone, don't use the collars so you can
Yeah, so you can
unload.
dump the weights. Yeah. This is some solid chess talk. Hey, we're
It's
talking
chess
about
talk.
things I did at a chess employee meetup.
It's chest
That's
talk. I'll edit the title.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Tony. So my gym does have those. We didn't set them at that time, but if I'm lifting, actually pretty much any time I lift, I do set the safety bars right at my chest level, so I can bail.
I don't really enjoy lifting that much, to be honest. I find it kind of boring. I hate having to wait so long between sets. I find that really annoying. I end up just doing air squats or something while I'm waiting, which is counterproductive because I'm supposed to be resting.
We'll tell
And
the
then
viewers about our new challenge that you started.
oh, oh, okay. So 4 or 5 days ago, we are doing it's five push-ups, 5 pull-ups, and 10 squats, and then every single day we increase that by 1%. So it takes quite a while to build from 5 to 6 to 7, but it's going to start growing faster and faster and faster, and it's going to grow, and it grows every single day. So Matt and I are competing to see who can keep up with this growth regimen for the most days, and then when Matt eventually loses, he's going to pay me $100.
Yeah, whoever quits first pays the other $100. So now it's on YouTube. We gotta hold ourselves to it. And one thing that we're doing, which is kind of cool, I hope we do keep it up. We take video clips of ourselves doing the reps. So then maybe someday down the line, it'll be like we're doing some crazy number and we can go back to day 1 and week 2 and week 3 and be like, oh, that's when we did 5, 5, and 10. Now we're
Yeah.
doing 200. Something crazy.
Yeah, I think the 365th day, should we make it that far, is 178, and then 400 something for squats. What would it be? Let me look. I still have it right here.
We should do when it hits some sort of
374
milestone.
374 squats, which actually 374 squats, that doesn't really scare me like very much.
Really? That scares
Yeah.
me.
But 187 push-ups, that scares me quite a bit.
That'll be good though. Think about it. If you could do that many push-ups, that's a lot of chest strength.
Yeah. Well, okay. To bring it to chess, but like I think that physical fitness is actually an important part of chess study and chess growth. I
In
think
terms
it's
of like not fatiguing at the OTB board kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, not fatiguing the board, and I think especially like endurance athletics, because you like doing something for a really long period of time, like a classical chess game, I think correlates use a lot of the skills and to get through that you use to get through like a 6 8 hour run where
Makes
you're doing
sense.
the single activity for an incredibly long period of time and just the mindset that you need to be in to do that.
Do you feel like when you first started playing OTB chess, when you played a really slow game, did you ever feel like just stopping because the game was too long?
No.
You think that's because you were used to kind of the physical things that you've done, like races and different things?
Mm, maybe. I don't know, but I've always enjoyed playing long classical games the most. Like I just it's what I've it's what I enjoy about the game. I like it more than like Blitz, even though like, Blitz and Bullets like sort of addictive. Like you
Yeah.
can just kill a lot of time and it's mindless. But but classical chess has always like felt like a pursuit, and I like being able to give it attention and set and
Be in the
re-
zone and the phone's
yeah, yeah.
off and there's no computer.
Yeah, they never. I never remember like thinking that a game was taking too long, or that I was like bored in the middle of the game and was like, what do we? Why doesn't he just move? Like I've never really had that sensation of like, or felt like I just wanted to move quickly because I just wanted to get it over with. In fact, I've kind of had to like something I've actively focused on is like getting like time management stuff because I've been a time pressure kind of person
You're getting
and
too
still
comfortable sitting and thinking.
yeah, and so I've had to like sometimes get to a point where like you're not looking at anything new, just go. Like and because I used to like I think my problem is I I didn't still don't didn't trust myself a lot. So I was continuously like trying to check and recheck my lines and then like just always assuming that I was overlooking something and and so at some point now I've gotten better about just saying that's enough, this is fine, and that is stop like looking back over the same lines that I've already looked at.
What do you think of Tony's question? How do you prepare for a 3-hour match? He feels like he would just curl up and cry.
Well, I think though that you're gonna have a lot of adrenaline, especially during your first one. And I think that's gonna make you incredibly focused.
I agree. And I think 90 minutes is kind of it's a decent intro, but a little bit of a long intro to classical chess. Like you could try 65-minute or find like a 45 plus 10 or something and work your way up. I don't think you feel you have to jump into a 6-hour game, for example, like right off the bat. That just seems super intimidating because when your opponent's sitting there for they're spending their whole 3 hours, you're just going to be bored out of your mind at first, unless you're used to it, or you're going to be antsy.
No, my very first tournament that I ever played in at all was a 90-30 tournament.
I,
And I've always liked that time control. Like it's actually I get kind of annoyed if I'm ever playing in a tournament that has a different time control than 90-30. It's like my that's my favorite time control.
yeah, I'm used to increment now. I've played in so many increment tournaments where if I play like game 90 with a 5 delay, I more get frustrated because there's only a 5 delay. Because I'll burn
Yeah,
through all that time and you get down to 5 minutes with the 5 delay and you don't have
yeah.
enough time. You're just feeling
Yeah.
the pressure.
Bird Cells is like they're 45 game a day, finished with 45 minutes on their clock. Uh, you should just force yourself to stop moving so fast. Like you can, like you see people do this with their score sheets all the time when they write down, uh, like I'll move 10, they'll write like 45 minutes left, and then this is say let's say this is a game in 16, and they write like this is how much time I want left on my clock on this move, and you can do that for your games, and even if you don't have anything to think about, and you're like I'm certain what my move is going to be, well, don't move until you have this amount of time on your clock,
And
and
Birdcell's playing these games online. Would you even recommend maybe writing down your moves on a physical score pad for a 45-45 online? If you're ending up
can't
with 45 on the clock.
I can't really recommend. I mean, maybe. I mean, it's worth trying, but I've never done that, so I don't. I don't know. If someone recommended that to me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, it sounds great, and then I would never do it.
Oh, I have an idea then for Birdsell. Birdsell, have you tried, and maybe you have you played with a physical board for your 45-45? Like, do you make the moves on a physical board and then analyze with that? Because that could be something that could slow you down a little bit. But yeah, I think you almost have to find like what motivates you, and it's a pretty individual thing. What motivates you to play slowly? Like some people are motivated by, having some form of like little self punishment or something, right? Where it's like, oh, if I move too fast, something happens. Um, I don't know what the best answer is for that. Maybe like trying to use a metric, like what percent of the time do I make very large blunders? And just kind of go into that mode where it's like, I got to do these extra blunder checks and I need to aim for only one blunder every 30 moves or, whatever it is, and try to keep improving that. Oh, he does, and it does help. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I've always played too slow as an adult. As a kid, I played too fast because I wanted to just like get through my games and get on to the next thing. Play with
Yeah.
toys or go outside or whatever. Um,
Do push-ups.
yeah, do push-ups, start arm wrestling at the cafeteria. So what's your favorite time control now? 90-30?
Yeah, I still like 90-30. It's still what I want to play. I'm fine with slower. If it's faster, I start to I get antsy if it's any faster than that though. Like I played this tournament that I played recently that I really didn't do well, even though I did gain one rating point, but I felt like I played terribly, really terribly. But it was just a G90 with a D5, and I felt so rushed in the games.
I thought you did good in those games that I saw. I feel like you're pretty critical of your own play sometimes. So you
They
did
were
well.
terrible. They
Yeah.
were terrible. They were horrible games.
Who's
Yeah,
alternate Mr. JD?
I don't know. I don't know who alternate Mister is.
He said JJJDDDD.
Yeah, it seems to know who I am.
Alternate Mr. Who are you? I mean, you don't have to dox yourself, but how did you hear about chess goals? Okay, Tony says new strat: blitz your first 10 moves, do push-ups until you finish your time allotment. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
You want to do push-ups during a game? You do the. We did play. I played the burpee chess with Jin Shahadi once
How'd that go?
when we. Actually, it was an interesting game on the board. I lost on time. I think. I'm pretty sure I lost on time. But yeah, she and Danny were gonna do a match, and so I was the warm-up match before she played Danny because she never played Blitz Giant Chess before, so I was her warm-up
Oh, I
match.
think I do remember seeing the video of her and Dan. I remember she was in one. I don't remember Danny for sure. Or no,
It
I
was
saw her and
definitely
Greg do it. That's what I did. Her and Greg played like a burpee chess match.
yeah, they're both super I think I know he's a huge CrossFitter, and I think she is too. That but yeah, they're very fit people. Those two, they seem to have a lot of. They both play poker. They're both super good at chess. They're both into fitness. They seem to have a lot of things they connect on.
It's like the book Range. You gotta be very diversified in a bunch of different things, and
Yeah,
they all help with each other in some way.
I'm here for gains. He lower muscles, and he doesn't care which.
Or both, yeah. Alden and Mister, that's awesome. Just a fan. Oh, one thing, going back to the time management that I've started doing. Um, I try to watch so I write down all the times on my score sheet. Unless it's a real quick move, I'll skip those lines usually. So then I have a log of how the clock management was for OTB games. I've been
Hmm.
trying to stay a little bit ahead of my opponents on time, almost no matter what, unless they're just like absolutely blitzing every single move.
Yeah.
I try to stay near them or up a little bit, and then kind of like John Bartholomew's series using the clock as a weapon. I do try to get them under a little bit of heat. If I can get my opponent down to 5 minutes with a 30 increment and I'm sitting at like 13 minutes, let's say, I
Hmm.
like that kind of sweet spot where it's like, okay, if I do need a deep think or two, I have the time. My opponent really doesn't. Like they're going to be sweating a little bit and I can try to, use the clock to put some pressure on them.
I I've never really. I mean, I've definitely noticed when I'm up on time, and I'm happy to be up time. But I'm usually like I try not to think too much about the clock when I'm deciding how much time to take on a position. I try to give the position what I think it deserves.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so,
I think it does
uh,
make me play a little too fast sometimes, though.
and I've definitely bought into this school of thought that when you are really high up on time, that you shouldn't intentionally play quickly to stay
Yeah.
up on time.
Yeah.
Uh, the idea that you're trying to deprive your opponent of thinking on your clock, but I don't do that. I think that's a good way to screw yourself.
I agree. Yeah. You might just blunder when you have all that time.
Yeah.
I feel like Nepomniachtchi does that a little bit. Like he'll just start blitzing. He has a ton of time and then he makes a mistake. I think he's trying to put the heat on his opponent when they're lower on
Uh,
time.
I'm not playing in Las Vegas. I don't think Matt is either.
Mm-mm. I've actually never played in Las Vegas, but it'd be really fun too. I
And the state championship is supposed to be sometime next month, but they haven't announced the dates yet. And I intend to play in that. And then I'm still planning to go to Dallas to play over Thanksgiving.
State championship, that's Missouri or Nevada?
Yeah,
Oh, Missouri.
Missouri. And then December, the this is kind of crazy because some local businessman who I don't even know who they are approached the guy who runs the tournaments at my local club and wanted to do a tournament in town, like uh, like a slow classical tournament in town. And he put up I think it was 5 grand for a prize fund for it.
Oh, wow.
And so that's happening in December, so I'll play in that too.
What are you going to do if you win?
I usually have any winnings from any tournaments I've had. I've always spent them on coaching.
That's awesome. Yeah. Reinvest it.
Yeah. What's your bit? What's your best tournament win?
I don't
Like
know.
prize fund wise.
Not that much. I feel like I've won $300 once as a kid.
Uh huh.
In terms of like inflation adjusted, that might
Uh
be the
huh.
highest I've ever won was 300. Um, and I remember I used the money to buy the physical ECO books. Have you seen those? A
Yeah.
through E?
I used to have one. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the thing back in the day. And you would use the ECO books to look up games, and then it would reference you to those encyclopedia little digest books that came out like every couple months.
Uh huh.
So it would say, like, you have to reference this book and this specific game. Then my coach at the time, his name was Ed, he had a whole wall of essentially all of those manuals. So I could like jot down like, oh, this game from this game. And I wasn't able to look them up online at the time. And I would go to his house and we would look through games from his manuals. But I spent
Wow.
$300 as like a 12-year-old on these 5 massive encyclopedias that you really can't even read. It's just they're tables and references. They look cool on the bookshelf, like 5 colors, and I felt like
Yeah,
my coach, like a little bit of a professional or something.
yeah.
Chessable
Uh,
Pro. Yeah, Chessable
yeah,
Pro is good.
yeah, I've been paying for Chessable since the day it existed. I was like one of their very first customers, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I used to correspond with the owner quite a bit because I was giving lots of feedback about the site when it first came. And I some of the feedback that I gave actually turned into all of all of the stuff they do that's not about openings. Is because I was trying to do stuff in my personal courses that weren't about openings and it didn't work very well. So I sent them all this stuff about like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do and it's not working. And that kind of turned into them, at least in some way, and contributed to the like them supporting doing like endings courses instead of opening courses and stuff like that.
Was that the co-founder who started with John Bartholomew? Was, David
Yeah,
Cramley or something?
yeah. I
Cool.
didn't remember his name. And I
And
found out about Chessable because I was a student of John Bartholomew's at the time,
okay.
which is
Yeah.
why I knew about it like before I was like awaiting its release when because he was talking about it on his channel before then. So
Yeah, Chessable is a really nice tool for just spaced repetition. I remember when John Bartholomew was doing the 3 videos a day. I think we've talked about this before.
yeah,
Those were amazing when he would play, like, 1 blitz, 1 standard, and a bullet each day, or I don't know, a video of
yeah,
each at least.
yeah.
Like, I would watch almost all of them, just John's thought process and everything.
Yeah, I watched a lot of his stuff too. Yeah, I've always liked his content.
'Cause he's super strong tactically, but he's also really strong positionally, and he can, like,
Hmm.
explain all of his positional thoughts. Then as soon as his opponent makes a mistake, he just capitalizes, and then he's, like, very smooth at converting the wins too. So it almost feels effortless, like, watching him play.
He's played some blitz matches versus Danny that were, I think, on Chess TV, and if I remember, I think he's always hammered Danny,
I think so too, I think you're right.
even though Danny's a really strong player as well. He just, for whatever reason, I think John has always just seemed to get the better of him. I'm not sure who's the stronger player, period, but for whatever reason, their dynamics and at least the matches I've seen, it seemed like John was always coming out on top.
Yeah, I think it's the styles make matches a little bit. John might be a little higher rated too, but John is
Hmm.
so solid and Danny is so aggressive. I think when they would do play, like the games I've seen, John's like, "Thank you for the free pawn. Now, would you like to get ground down and endgame down that pawn? Or would you like to sack more material and watch me just collect it and then pretty much convert from there?" Danny, if you're watching, I love you.
I think that it is kind of interesting how that like affects your like the way you play. Because I have this like chess buddy, the guy that I first started playing chess against when I started taking chess seriously and started trying to actually learn the game. Because he had books. I never knew chess books existed until I met this guy. And when we played, he was probably a bit better to begin with, but he was super aggressive and happy to sack pawns. And I think I became, because he was my only opponent, and I was always playing this guy who was like just he would just sack everything for an attack. I think that turned me into a really the solid my preference for solid positions that I have now because like my first chess education was like trying to ward this stuff off. And I think that's carried through to the way I still think about and feel what I feel comfortable in as a chess player.
think that makes sense. Yeah, like your characteristics when you're new to the game move with you over time. Okay, here's a question for you, and I think we may have talked about this before. Do you feel like your personality in real life matches your play style on the chessboard? Like think risk reward, aggression, those kind of things.
No, I don't think so. Like I'm like I picked up and went to Alaska and got a job on a fishing boat with like not enough money to come back home. And so like I had to have a job and I needed to get back by a certain date, otherwise I was going to be late for school the next year. And like that seems like it demonstrates sort of a reckless abandon or a willingness to do kind of crazy things. But over the board, I I don't behave like that at all on the chessboard.
So what would that analogy be? Like Stafford Gambit IRL? You're playing the Stafford. Dennis is here. Matt's
So
preparing
then
for the Rochester Chess Championship. That's right. Dennis just arrived. Yeah, Rochester, Minnesota. I was telling JD I'm doing exactly 0 hours a week of chess work on my own. I still teach Paul, and we'll do like some puzzles together and stuff. So I get a little bit of chess training, I guess, in that sense. But otherwise, we're working on courses right now, which isn't really training.
yeah, I've been trying to always do the puzzle of the day every day. I've been trying to at least do that. Some of them are pretty cool puzzles. I mean, because they are curated, so like they're not picking boring run of the mill puzzles. They're all going to be kind of neat. So that's all the more reason to always do the daily puzzle, because you know it's going to be like an interesting one or unique in some way. It's not going to just be like the 13,004 Q scene.
Right. Yeah, daily puzzles is a good way to like stay engaged. Okay, Dennis asks, is play Magnus a big deal? We are not going to talk about the play Magnus thing today, just because we have connections with chess.com. But as like more news comes out, I think we'll probably be talking about it on these shows like in the future. You agree? Or maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe we'll just point to the articles that here's what's out there. Bird cell in the chat. Boo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. I don't know anything anyway.
NDA bummers. We have a lawyer watching us right now.
Really? No, yeah.
We could all be welcoming our new chess overlords. Well, speaking of Magnus, here comes our first guest. Like our videos split apart and he just comes up in the middle.
So, are you playing this Rochester Chess Championship?
Yes. So Dennis Mays is the organizer and tournament director. We are planning on having it coming up later this fall. The date is still a bit tentative, but I would like to do like extra event coverage, even more so than we've done in the past. So like I've done kind of the recaps before
Mm-hmm.
post games.
Are you
I
gonna
almost
wear a
want
body
to,
cam?
yeah, I don't know about body cam, but I almost want to like videotape the games, like get permission from the opponent,
Uh-huh.
video the games, and then take some like just do some basic editing, like maybe clip out little parts while I'm analyzing it and just kind of
Yeah,
add to that because I think a lot of people like to hear the, what are the emotions in the game and the reactions of the players and things like that. Could you
yeah.
imagine if there was like just some footage that I could clip in for people that aren't?
Talk about like feeling like you intimidating the opponent or something, man.
I mean, how many push-ups are we going to be up to at that point?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. How many when is it?
I don't remember exactly what date we had said. Dennis is probably going to tell us, but it's not completely finalized yet.
Hmm. Not that many if it's this year, man. We
October
make it
22nd and 23rd. That's the tentative dates.
oh, okay. Yeah, I think if I told you how few will still be doing, then you would feel embarrassed for suggesting that it might make you look more buff.
I think we should do a video, a chess intimidation video. That's something new that's not out there in the chess content world. I'm
You mean
thinking
like where
like,
you mean like where you get up and stand behind your opponent and analyze the board from their side? That
yep,
kind of
that's a
stuff
really
you're
good
talking
tip. Um,
about?
One I was thinking of is like, searching for Bobby Fischer when Josh was sitting on the phone book. He clears the phone book off because he's like, I'm not a kid and I'll just sit on the rocking chair. I
Uh-huh.
think as adults, add a phone book. I'm going to sit 6 inches taller than you and I'm going to be breathing down the top of your head while you're trying to think. What do you think of
I,
that?
are you actually advocating this kind of stuff?
We'll have to brainstorm a little bit. See,
I mean, I did have a guy tell me he got banned from chess.com before a game.
really?
Like, yeah. I'm
I will say, like, sometimes I'll sit on my foot because it's like the higher up you get, the clearer a view you get. So
hmm
it is kind of nice for like deeper calculation, especially if your opponent's not at the board, to just kind of like hover over it a little bit more. I do like that.
do what do you think about psychological factors of like playing your opponent rather than playing the board?
I do it a lot. If I know the opponent, I definitely weigh it in. I think about if they're aggressive, if they're tactical, if they're good at like finding rare moves, if they're one huge thing I think about is time pressure. If players don't do
hmm
well in time pressure, I'm definitely considering that. Um, yeah, I think it's really important to do because think about all the moves in chess where there's multiple options and you feel they're all about the same. It happens a lot, and you can steer the game different directions based on how your opponent plays. So not just the opening, like am I trying to exploit one of their holes in their repertoire,
Yeah.
but the whole flow of the game. Like they want to play aggressive, put them in a defensive position, those kind of things. Like you can frustrate your opponent or maybe try to exploit some of their weaknesses if you know them well enough.
Hmm.
Put a
I still
temporary
play the
tattoo on your forehead that just says play F6. Hope for the spirit of the Damiano to do the rest.
we play F6 in a couple lines in the repertoire though. So
Carol Khan. We
yeah,
got deeper
well
dive F6 in the Carol Khan. That's coming at some point, guys.
also in the exchange love lines, we're playing F6 and some of those too.
That's right. Yeah, it does feel a little bit loose. Like you got to know what you're doing. Have a good feel
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, I don't like those positions much. I don't like I don't know how I yet don't know how I feel about our line in the exchange love. I thought
Yeah.
about just switching and playing E6 before C6 and just I think that just lops out that whole thing. But I don't know, maybe it causes problems if they try to transpose to like a I don't I don't know. I might end up in a French in some variations instead
Yeah,
of
if
a
they do like a
Caravan.
E4 C4 kind of combo.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple just little minor things, but there's nothing wrong with cutting out the Slav chapter. Like you can pretty much do it safely. I
Yeah.
think like, if they start with like one knight F3, D5, D4, you got to kind of think a little bit about the move orders there and things, but it's not
If
like a
they're
huge deal.
if they're knight f3, D knight f3, D5, D4,
Or knight F3, C4.
knight
And you
yeah,
go,
knight f we still go. I think we because they're in the first line, they're maybe still gonna go for a London and we play E3 first against the London anyway.
that's true. Oh, new question from Tony. Do you study openings based on what percentage you see them? That's how we built the courses. That's how I designed the
So
courses originally
that's the whole
based.
philosophy.
Yeah, and I really like that philosophy, at least as a starting point. So like, let's take the Carol Khan course that we have for chess goals. It's built on the intermediate level including like Blitz, Rapid, and Classical games. So it does gear a little bit lower rating than, for example, JD or myself playing OTB. But for most players, it's going to do a pretty good job percentage wise. So what you can do is learn those 100 Caro-Kann lines. And 100 lines is not a ton, but it's a pretty good base. And then as you see new things in your games, start to add those to your repertoire. And there's different ways you can do that. You can add them to Chessable, you can add them to Chessbase or your chess.com library, but just kind of keep building those things as you go. Look for ideas. And really, in the end, your goal is to become an expert in all those types of positions. Like, you want to have a feel for the positions, not just memorize if they do A, I do B, if they do C, I do D.
I I Tony is talking about he only gets run Londons and note booms, but I really like note booms. I have a lot to learn about them still. They're tough positions actually, but I really like those games.
Yeah, they're very dynamic. GM Molnar said he likes the note boom too when I had him on that one day.
Hmm.
He really likes the note boom for black. Because we were analyzing viewer games, and I want to say it was Bob that had a note boom game. I don't remember which player it was, but I think it was Bob.
Yeah, the my coach says that the only he thinks the only way that people could try to get an advantage against the repertoire is the going for the marshal.
I'm
He
glad you
thought that
brought that up. There was a game in the Olympiad in the Marshall, and I'll look it up later, where there was a line where they didn't go accept it and go down the main line. And I can't remember. It was a pretty strong player playing black, like Kahilfman or something. And essentially he just like allowed the triple pawn center and played like knight f6.
hmm
And like the engine wasn't super in love with it for black, but it seemed very playable. Like once you followed through the game, he equalized quickly. So I'm gonna find that game because maybe we could have like a second option for the Marshall if people don't want to go into the main lines. Maybe we
Yeah,
show a line where it's like, yeah, white gets 0.6 with the engine, but if he doesn't know exactly what to do, you're gonna be just fine.
and like those lines in the marshal can get crazy.
You've had
Like
some
stuff
crazy
you
games.
got like you got to the stuff you got to just know that you I don't think you can figure you would never you'd never ever figure it out over the board.
Yeah.
uh but it's not it shouldn't be such an unlearnable amount of stuff though, but you really do need to know it.
hmm And I think one thing too, like if you're never seeing the Marshall in your games, then it kind of goes back to Tony's question. It doesn't make sense to study the Marshall like all 10 lines on repetition if you never face it in your games. If you don't face it, then maybe you want to find sort of like a bailout line where you just play solid. Maybe it's a little bit passive, but it's easy to learn and it's like proportional to how often you see it.
Yeah, I've only had the marshal once in over the board play, and he chickened out and didn't go down the sharp lines and actually just let me be just a pawn up for nothing
I mean, I
is how
suppose from the white side, you actually almost never face the triangle. Right?
that and but like it's just we're talking about how it's scary for black. It's just as scary for white.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
like they're not it's not like they're risking something too. So like it can go either way in a big hurry. So like I get why he was like he knew he started down the line and then didn't before when he had to jump over the cliff, he like held back and then he just castled and then I was just it gave me the moment I needed to do what I had to do and then I was just up a clean pawn for nothing.
I mean, hopefully that's how that line usually goes.
Yeah.
Like you just survive the attack and then you're up in the end game.
Yeah, I mean he could have made it a lot scarier if he'd known the rest of the line.
Mhm.
But it was a big commitment. He needed to be really sure before he did it. And he wasn't, so he didn't.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna learn a new martial line for myself. Um, but just something to like have a quick fallback if I'm not prepping the main stuff.
Makes sense.
So we're at 1 hour, JD. Should we ask for any last questions before we wrap up? And I think it'd be nice to hear like what people think of this format. We were thinking of trying to do them on a somewhat regular basis. Maybe we'll play around with the timing a little bit, like see if we can do some earlier ones for our Europe friends, England friends. Yeah, let us know what you think. Um,
I like how you made this political statement when you separated England from Europe.
uh-huh. Clip it.
Hmm.
Oh, Dennis is saying Ali Reza played a nice Caro advance, but not the chess goals line against Dominguez. Yeah, Tony said he enjoyed it. Birdsell says Murica. True Midwesterner, Birdsell.
Yeah, I am a Midwesterner.
Dennis says a little more advance notice would help. Yeah, so one thing I didn't do is I did not advertise this on the email list for our first one. But I think if we keep doing them, I'll put it in the emails. It's already in Discord. And then if you're a YouTube subscriber or you have like notifications enabled, you should always kind of see when we're going live. But yeah, definitely I'll add to the email list. Hey, Bluefin, good to see you. Glad you enjoyed it. Just kind of a chill chat session. No boards. I mean, we might incorporate a board here and there depending on what we're talking about, but we got to talk arm wrestling and different things like that too. Got to make room for it all.
You guys will find out about what my other hobbies are someday.
Dude, yeah. Next time, let's hear JD's top 10 crazy adventures and then see if anyone's craziest adventure can even like compete with JD's number 10. Like the whole chat can combine their crazy adventures. Like Birdsell paddled 5 miles and someone else like jogged 20 miles. And then JD will be like, yeah, I did 100 miles of each before breakfast. Ultra running? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I've done a little bit of ultra running. Not a lot, but a little bit.
JD ultra runs to prep for his other events. Kind of weird.
It is true, actually, though.
Yeah. JD chess boxing would be good. I agree.
I don't know about chess boxing, but if we could do like chess jujitsu, I could handle chess jujitsu.
Oh yeah, JD does jujitsu. We should have done jujitsu. Like one arm tied behind your back. Next OTB event.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
video that. How embarrassing.
I don't I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Tony would buy tickets.
I think it would. I mean, have you trained any martial arts ever before? Oh wait, you're
I'm not
the.
telling you.
Oh, I don't remember.
Not telling
I
you.
think.
I'm coming.
I
I
think you.
want full odds in my favor. I'll start training once the match is set. That's what I'll do. I'll be like purple belt by the time we get to the match.
If you manage to get to a purple belt between now and the time we got to a match, that would be ultra impressive. Like
Oh,
my coach, that took him to getting that far took him 7 years, I think.
I have to admit I don't know the levels.
Purple's quite high.
I just said a
in,
color.
in jiu-jitsu, purple's quite high.
Okay.
Chess MMA, yeah.
Oh, I do like
I bet
MMA. Jesse got me into MMA.
I enjoy MMA. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. It's a chess match. It's every sport's a chess match.
It actually got a lot more interesting when I started like studying jiu-jitsu though. Like it's like things like because I would recognize some things of what was happening and whatnot.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I'd studied judo for quite a long time, but like the judo was all stand-up stuff, and that doesn't. I mean, that lasts for a teeny tiny fraction of the match, and then a lot of stuff was happening on the ground, and we didn't. The judo I was at, we didn't do a lot of ground stuff, so I was totally ignorant of anything on the ground until I started learning jujitsu.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu's, I mean, that's like watching the Gracies and stuff back in the day. every so often YouTube recommends me like just a pure jujitsu match.
Hmm.
And it's crazy. I mean, I can't quite follow it, but like there was one guy who would give up essentially submissions to his opponent, like let's say the leg lock position, because his
Hmm.
like ankles were so flexible, the guy couldn't actually get him to submit. But then by getting the guy to do that submission attempt, he was able to get his own submission attempt, and then like his opponent couldn't handle it as well as he could handle the one he baited the guy into. Like just the level, it, I couldn't even register why they were doing what they were doing. It's insane.
That's one thing that like this, like a lock that does like this. I don't know why, but I don't submit to those. They just don't hurt.
To your
And I
hand,
don't,
not you're not saying foot, just the.
yeah, to my hands. This is
Mhm.
like a wrist thing. For whatever reason, my wrists just don't hurt from that behavior.
So you can like let someone do it, even give them that move. Maybe they open
And
themselves up.
yeah, I mean, I've never really consciously given someone that because I'm afraid. I don't know. Even though it doesn't hurt, I'm always afraid it should hurt, and maybe they're going to break something anyway. And
Yeah,
I don't give it to people. It's just something like weird that it's a submission that doesn't work on me. There are plenty of others that do, but that one doesn't.
it's interesting. All right, so next time we're gonna talk jujitsu and JD's adventures.
All
That'll be fun.
right.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, JD.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys.